ADHD is treatable and it's not a lifelong disorder. Most people need treatment for somewhere between 3 to 8 years, depending on the severity of the disorder. And there's lots of things you can do from the inside out and the outside in to help regulate that part of your brain, which is responsible for so many areas of your life. So let's start from the outside in, and then we'll work from the inside out. So the outside in. Typically, if you have ADHD, you'll find that you don't set yourself a schedule. You run your schedule based on the activities that other people put in place for you. So if there's nothing to get up for or get ready for, you might find that you're at a loss as to what to do in the morning, and you spend a lot of time just, I don't know, in the shower, getting dressed, on your phone. So this might sound familiar. So what can you do? Now, one of the things you can put into place is work on your time blindness. Okay, this time blindness is easily corrected because you can train your brain and your mind to read time just like everybody else. It's just it needs a little bit more work. So you might have a relative who seems to know what the time is even if they haven't checked their watch. Whereas for yourself, you might find 2 hours has passed and you thought it was only 5 minutes ago that you last looked at the watch. So learn to read time. How can you do this? Something I often recommend to my patients is a hexagon clock timer. So now a hexagon clock timer has 6 sides. Each of those 6 sides has the timer set to different periods of time. So 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. What I suggest is you have at least 2 weeks. You keep this clock timer with you everywhere you go, okay? And set it to 15 minutes. And I mean from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. Yes, it's going to be annoying that it beeps every 15 minutes. But what you'll start learning is you'll start learning what it feels like for 15 minutes to pass. You'll also start learning what you get done in 15 minutes realistically. Plus that beep will serve as a prompt for you to move out of the activity that you're stuck in and move on to the next, or measure that you need more time. And this will start to become automatic because our brain creates new neural pathways as we repeatedly do something. So get yourself a hexagon clock timer and start breaking out of your time blindness. This is something you can put in from the outside and has an impact on the inside. Okay. The other thing you can do is get a scheduler which is designed for people with ADHD. These are not schedulers or diaries which are written by or designed for somebody who doesn't have ADHD. They've got specific cues and structures in them which allow the ADHD brain to come under more structure and framework. So external structure, if you know that you respond well to external structure, put more things in place. Now, looking at the inside out, let's look at, first of all, the biochemistry. Now, when we talk about ADHD treatment, it is one of the few mental health problems where really the mainstay of treatment is medication. And why? Because the medication is geared towards regulating dopamine in the brain. Now, there's also nootropics and minerals that can help support that. But in my experience, the more severe your ADHD is, the more likely it is you're going to need a combination of medication, nootropics, and minerals. In milder cases, nootropics and minerals can be fine. But I would say if you've got a more severe form of ADHD or even moderately severe ADHD, at least some period on medication can be very helpful. And when I say some period, you need at least a few years. Why a few years? The medication acts as a splint. It regulates things in the brain so that actually your behaviors and your response to things becomes more similar to the non-ADHD brain. You may still have some bad habits, but as your attention and focus and regulation improve with the ADHD medication, your habits will start to change with a lot less effort than without the medication. So as your habits start to change and those habits become much more regular, your brain starts to create new neural pathways, which then means that just like a splint, as those new neural pathways are there and they become part of your norm, when you take away the splint, when you take away the medication, your brain is functioning much more closely to a non-ADHD brain. And so over a period of years, whether that's in your teenage years or in your adult years, you will find that there'll come a time where you no longer need the medication. So the two work in harmony, treating from the inside out and treating from the outside in. Now, some of you may have also read a lot or heard a lot about how meditation and spiritual practices can be a powerful way to regulate the brain to create new pathways, to help the dopamine pathways. But you may also find that it's frustrating because you can't pay attention to what you're supposed to be meditating on, because the ADHD mind and brain gets distracted by even the smallest sound or the conversations around you or something else that you might have to do later on. The both or the two can be done in tandem. Okay, we want to look at mental health as a whole, because your mind is more than your brain and you are more than your mind. So because all three things are there, we want to be able to take advantage of the neurochemical, harness the psychological, and harness the spiritual to have treatments and management of our life and our mental health in such a way that everything works synergistically. So use the biochemistry, use the medication, use minerals, use nootropics, okay? Use a good, healthy sleep-wake cycle. Use regular meals to help your brain to be at its optimum. Have good conversations, self-reflection, understand the symptoms of ADHD so that you can psychologically be free of the self-blame and guilt that a lot of people have when they have ADHD, where they blame themselves for mistakes and errors that often are out of their own hands. And they often blame themselves for decisions they made when they didn't have access to the full information because they hadn't paid attention to it. So that psychological burden can also be relieved. And then look at society, your social relationships. How can you harmonize those again? Find those friends that you can discuss this with, who will have the patience and tolerance to allow you to make mistakes and then grow beyond them. Last but not least, your spiritual practices, whilst they may be affected by your ADHD, and also at the same time have a positive impact on your ADHD, getting the biochemistry, psychology, and social side of ADHD treated actually has a powerful impact to make you more available, to make more inner space, more psychological space, more physical space available for you to engage in your spiritual practices. So I wish you all the best on your ADHD journey. Please don't be distracted by just what an online questionnaire tells you. It's not conclusive, okay? It's not gospel. Don't read your situation based on what other people are saying. And also consider that there are other things that might be causing your struggles with attention and focus. I'd love for you to join this community and shape the content we produce. Please subscribe by clicking the link below.